Silent Hill 2 begins with a man staring at himself in the mirror, his demeanor and movements strange and odd and his eyes blackened by darkness. It's a very unusual way of starting a horror game. There's no bombastic action scene or waking up in a weird mysterious place.
I wish I could ask how much you remember. I don't know if there'll be anything left after I consume this drink.
I was wondering if you guys had a drink?
No, our main character, James Sunderland, is here voluntarily.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
Silent Hill 2 is one of the most important games that anyone could ever play. Not only is it just a great horror game in general, but it also masterfully tackles these really dark and sensitive themes, while also really playing into the uncanny valley of being a PS2 game. There's a reason why this game's been endlessly analyzed for years. So, how the fuck do you remake a game like this? In a way, I kinda have to relate to Bloober Team, the developers of this Silent Hill 2 remake, because how do you reinterpret or reanalyze a game that's already been talked about to death? Well, I guess analyzing the remake is a pretty good excuse. I'll be taking you in the waters of this game, pun intended, and tell you why Silent Hill 2 means so much to me, and what I believe does and doesn't work in both the original and the remake. Regardless, though, I will make it very clear, this is not a which game is better video. If you want an answer for that, I think the original is better, but the remake gets very, very close. I absolutely adore both games. The remake's been my comfort game since it came out. Both games do things better and worse than the other in different ways, but even so, both are absolutely fantastic. And if you want to know which one to play yourself, my answer is avoid the HD collection. Our game opens in a park bathroom. Our main character's movements are strange and awkward, his hands constantly trembling. Silent Hill 2 begins with a man staring at himself in the mirror, his eyes blackened by darkness. Now, in the original game, we just get the mirror shot, this weird FMV cutscene where the main character places a hand over his face. He then lets out a massive sigh. The game then cuts to a Dutch angle of the actual in-game graphics. Obviously, first off, in 2001, this was meant to graphically impress you. Oh wow, the cutscenes look like that on my PS2? Wowee! I wonder what real life's graphics were like 13 days before this game's release.
This is a joke about 9/11. Please go to 911.com for more hilarious.
But it's also meant to draw you in while making you weirdly uncomfortable. The movements are kind of stiff and uncanny. The sigh this guy makes is a little too loud for comfort. And the music in the background is so ominous. And wait a minute, who the hell is this guy anyways? Where are we? Normally we think of the uncanny valley as a bad thing, like the Polar Express just taking you out of the movie with how creepy everyone is. But in the original Silent Hill 2, a horror game, it's a tool for discomfort. However, the remake now has a new problem. It's a PS5 game, shiny and new, and can't really do that as well. So imagine my shock when the remake actually does kinda do that. The remake begins with no music, just sync noises and two realistic hands. There's no more loud sigh, but there is a realistic face and uncomfortable breathing and swallowing. And on that note, look at his face. Look at the sweat pouring down. I can count the individual stubble hairs. And look at his hand. You can see his skin morph as his thumb presses into his palm. And after all this buildup, you finally get that iconic ambient song. That's when you see the iconic shot of the man's hand glide over his face. To a new player, this is a great way of conveying the original game's weirdness. The mix of impressive tech and uncanny intrigue. But for returning players, as you get this wider shot of the main character, you get this kind of angelic background orchestration to this original song. So what this does for new players is invite them in for the first time, but for old players, it's inviting them back.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
But okay, big question, what the hell's going on here? Well, we do get a female voiceover, which may help us.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill.
I see that cat. Skipping a toilet.
You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you.
Aw, that's... I don't know what that means yet. You think in an actual explanation by our main character.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name.
This guy is James Sunderland, and the letter we just heard was from his wife, Mary. Except one problem. Mary's been dead for 3 years. And since the letter was sent recently, that means she couldn't have wrote it, could she? Ooh, that's a little spooky.
It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago.
On that note, by the way, I adore how intimate and poetic this scene is. The way James reminisces about Mary, staring off into the nature below, and that beautiful acoustic guitar in the background. There aren't many horror works that begin this sincerely. It just feels really human.
So then why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Could Mary really be here? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
And just like that, our game begins. We're given this small little area, just a place to get our bearings at. Take a look at James's busted up car though, Jesus. This clearly ain't the richest man in the silentest of hills. But anyways, there's a map we can grab from our car here. Alright, the path seems pretty straightforward here. This Toluca Lake sign has seen better days though, but I guess it's down the old beaten path, down this very ominous foggy road, and that droning music isn't helping either. But there's something also oddly therapeutic about it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's nostalgia for the original game's long winding path. Maybe I was just in a deeply lonely mood or something, and a guy looking for his wife in Silent Hill is just type shit, but I just wanted to walk slowly and take in the atmosphere. Wait a minute, what the fuck was that? Well, things are getting spookier now, so that checks that off the horror checklist. On our way there, we then approach a well, one with a strange red glowing square floating on it. This is how you save your game. Now, in the original game, it flashes to an illustration of James's face, and the first time I saw it, it jump scared me. I wasn't expecting it, and it helps that it's just a very uncanny image. In the remake, though, it's changed to just James staring. It's an unintentionally hilarious change, and it's one of the few that I'm not the biggest fan of.
It's like someone's groping around my skull.
And now that there is freaky. Like, what are the implications of that? Is this a metafiction thing? Ooh. By the way, this is the only Silent Hill game to have red squares as save points. In the previous game, it was notebooks, and in the third game, it's this symbol here. Of course, those cases are maybe for another time, but as of right now, the point is, red squares are a
certified hood class.
Anyways, we approach this cemetery and find this woman looking at the gravestones. So James asks for directions on the, you know, extremely straight road map.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I was just...
Hey, it's okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Are you fucking dumb?
By the way, brief moment of silence for the original game's incredible voice acting. I originally had a whole segment talking about it here, but you know what? I think it's better if I show and don't tell.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Drake!
By the way, I don't know where else I'll mention it, so, fun fact, the original voice actor for James Sunderland thinks 5G towers started COVID. This was life before 5G.
Howdy, partner! I live my normal life, partner!
And this is life after 5G.
No! Stop fucking dying!
Son, I found a bag of 5G in your drawer.
Yeah, son, what the fiddle dookie?
Yeah, so what, Dad? You fucking always drink beer? It's a real shame that our son died in the car accident from smoking 5G. By the way, this is Angela Orozco, who is helpful enough to give us directions, but also warns us there's something wrong with where we're headed. But on top of that, though, she's kind of a bit weird. She tells us the town is dangerous, but she's very vague and shy about it.
But... I think you should stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. And it's not just the fog, either.
Is it dangerous?
Maybe.
Well, maybe I'd like to know. Although, I don't know if I can say the same for James, though. Because this guy does not care about nothing.
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
No, I believe you. It's just... I guess I don't really care if it's dangerous or not.
Man, that's some type shit, James. I feel you. So James tells Angela he's looking for someone. While meanwhile, Angela's looking for her mother. So James wishes her well and continues down to Silent Hill.
I'm sorry, it's not your problem.
No, I hope you find them.
Yeah, you too.
So after a bit of Unreal Engine sightseeing, it's time to head down to Silent Hill past the infamous Comic Sans sign.
Someone at fucking Hijinks Studios thought it was necessary to change the fucking font to Comic Sans.
We got zero time to look around. We got a wife to save, damn it.
Ooh, I love my wife.
We approach town and find yet another map, this time of Silent Hill itself, which is especially helpful with all this volumetric fog everywhere. On top of these weird, giant dead ends. These dead ends, by the way, aren't on the map at all. We gotta mark them off. They sure are ominous, though. Alright, weird thing in the distance. Nice horror checklist checked off.
Oh! Why did I jump?
Also not creepy is the stuff on the ground.
What is this?
Well, in the original game, it was straight up blood, so I guess we'll go with that. This is straight up blood on the ground, which leads us to this backyard area.
Hello?
Dude, where the fuck does my plug live?
It's my town!
So we crawl into some dude's garage and walk into his house. Hey, it's not a home invasion if I'm severely depressed. We then hear a static noise and find a shortwave radio. Hopefully no crackhead wants this or anything. Okay, well, clearly I stand corrected. Thanks for giving us a combat tutorial, though. Very nice of this guy. Okay, but seriously, though, what the fuck is that thing? Is that meant to be a straitjacket or like a body bag made from its own skin? Oh, God, that's freaky. Let's kill this thing already and get out of here.
Is this what I saw in the fog? Whatever it is, it's not human.
Oh, come on, James. You're just being mean now. This is why we don't use TeamSpeak. That radio, though, is actually really helpful, as it'll go off when enemies are nearby. The bad news is the noise it makes is scary-ass radio static. You couldn't pick a better noise? Also, I'm not a fan of that dead body with a note attached to it saying, "Run away, run away, run away, run away" on the back. And I don't like that noise either.
Oh my fucking gosh, no!
But you know what? These guys really aren't that bad. They're hit spongy, sure. Once you learn to dodge and hit and kick them, they really aren't that bad. Especially the crawling guys who are already on the ground, so you can just whack away at them. Oh, by the way, that dead body had a Neely's bar thing attached to it too. So I guess the bar's where we're going now. And in this bar, we find a functional jukebox. Well, more like barely functional. The main mechanism needs to be fixed by hand. The vinyl's completely split in half. There's a button conveniently missing. And worst of all, we're broke. So I guess we gotta find some shit now. Although, check out that weird writing on the window. There was a hole here. It's gone now. Ooh, that's real spooky. But TLDR, we find the button in this weird apartment building. Oh God, smells like Asmongold's room. And the hole that leads to whatever's on the other end. Well, at least the jukebox button is in there for some reason. I'm not even gonna ask. I know Asmongold's into that freak shit. We then head to the vinyl shop, which is festering with clones of Ronnie Radke. My life is like a video game, trying hard to find my wife. We do find some glue in the other half of the vinyl there, though. So we gotta go back and fix up the jukebox and play it.
Y'all sell crab legs? No. Boy, if you don't... Go by lamb chop. Sir, the name was really nigga. What you know about...
Okay, but in actuality, the song gives James a big old flashback.
Park on the lake. I spent the whole day there. Just the two of us staring at the water.
The jukebox breaks down and gives him a key, which leads us to a dead body outside, along with yet another... Ah, yes, the old fight-or-flight response. I see how it is, video game. Anyways, we then head to the Woodside Apartments, where we head inside and find this weird coin machine. However, the coins we need to activate it are mysteriously missing, hidden throughout this dark, spooky, abandoned apartment building. One that we're absolutely not alone in.
Hello? Is anyone there?
My name is Jimmy.
We do get a map though, so at least that's good. But one thing I do miss from the original game is that in this area, you couldn't actually read your map unless you were under a light. It was pretty annoying, but it also added to the horror of this area, giving a pretty terrifying stumbling in the dark feeling. In this game though, I guess James can just read in the dark. Okay, you know what? The map's a great idea, actually. Thankfully, though, we do find a flashlight and get promptly jump scared. Now, what in the hell is this thing? I mean, clearly, it's 4 spider-like mannequin legs all sewn together. And yeah, they really cooked in the abomination department.
Hold on, who's calling me? Hello?
Incomprehensible horrors and abominations.
Department?
Also, these guys will actually hide from you and attack you when you're nearby and off guard. This is, in my opinion, actually a big improvement from the original, where they just kind of walked around. The mannequins in the remake are way more dynamic, making fights with them a lot more intense, especially on a hard mode. Anyways, we kill our first mannequin here, and it seems like James recognizes these clothes.
These clothes.
You don't find that suspicious?
So we roam these apartments a bit more and find a key to where we need to go next. Right next to these metal bars here.
Hey! Wait!
Except, of course, children have to ruin everything.
Damn it.
I'm getting a vasectomy next time. Thankfully, after more wandering around, we do eventually get that key we need. We also find this weird wardrobe, which drops a golden apple for us. That white dress, though, looks way too clean in this kind of place. But of course, we gotta find the... Thank God, because this apartment has a handgun in it. So now we're ready for anything. Where did that even come from? Well, poor bastard. He had to watch the... You know what? Random chance. I spin the wheel for the joke's punchline this time. Yeah, sounds about right. So we find where that golden apple goes, but get locked in this room as a result. One with scribbles everywhere and a giant safe in the middle. Speaking of writings on walls, there's a riddle right here we can read. Right where the rooftops pierce through the night, left our homebound footprints with no owner in sight. But has he found a home? Oh, please pray tell, or a river of memories leading right to his hell. So what you gotta do is find these drawings with numbers next to them, and match them up with the order and direction of the riddle. Doing so gives us our key out of here and our first coin. Although I'm wondering if that riddle means anything at all. And what's with the 9 squares in the door out of here? Well, whatever the case, we can get our second coin by knocking it out of the garbage chute. And the third should be just right down this hallway area. Just to the room with a dead body in the fridge. And the noises of someone throwing up. Who the hell is here anyways?
Hey, who's there?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
This is Eddie Dombrowski, a man clearly mentally on edge.
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill him.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not saying that you did. Look, my name is James. James Sunderland.
On that note, though, in my opinion, the Eddie scenes are way better written in the remake. In the OG game, the dialogue was very stilted and felt almost like exposition. In the remake, though, there's a way better sense of too much being on Eddie's mind. He's way more scrambled and having trouble piecing everything together. You also get a way better sense that James Sunderland actually cares about the people around him. Like, just look at the comparison here.
I did see some weird-looking monsters. They scared the hell out of me, so I ran in here.
Well, I guess this place isn't too safe either.
Well, they came at me. I didn't know what to do, so I ran. I came here. Figured it might be safe, but then I found the guy in the fridge.
Easy, deep breaths.
And on that note, I adore the ending of this cutscene, where Eddie asks James if they can leave the town together.
Hey, you want to come with? Maybe together we can find a way out of this town.
James, however, nicely turns him down, as he's, you know, looking for his wife. And this makes Eddie weirdly sad.
Oh, sorry, but I can't leave. Not yet. I need to find someone.
Oh.
This, of course, will be important later, but this already adds so much to the immediate characters. You're being built up and given depth. I love this stuff, while also giving the narrative a much stronger back support. This is really good stuff. I like this. How did these guys also make the medium?
Eddie, be careful.
Yeah, you too.
Anyway, so we get the last coin and do the coin puzzle. One we can solve by looking at the riddle up top. 3 bright coins in the 5 holes B. First, it's the maiden underneath the tree. Welp, our first coin does have a woman on it, and there is a picture of the tree in the center, so I guess the middle slot? The wind from behind the maiden doth blow. A beautiful flower alone has to grow. And here comes the man, so sleek and so fine. In the pale moonlight, his eyes doth shine. In other words, this bitch gotta get. I hit her with Riz! Also, that flower is on the back of this snake coin here. And with that, we're given the second second part of this puzzle. The man doth appear, his blade now revealed, his face disappears behind shining steel. Away from the man doth the maiden flee, towards the flower, away from the tree. Jesus, the hell is this dude's problem? Where once grew a flower of venomous glee, where once was a maiden but a stone doth be. Sure enough, on the back of that woman coin, there's a straight up gravestone there. And over her grave the man doth remain, his blade never met the vile serpent's vein. Man, this is real bleak. The beast to its teeth in her flesh doth bore, he who has failed, she who is no more. Now unto you falls a grievous chore, who carries blame for what fate had in store. Now this one's actually up to you. You choose which one is guilty. And you know, I think a man chasing a woman with a sword might be a little suspect.
So, you're at a party when you notice a very attractive individual is looking your way.
But whoever you choose, we solve the riddle and get a key, allowing us inside this completely normal-looking apartment. That is, if you take the giant, ominous red metal door out of the equation. James also finds a handkerchief on a table. Interesting. Oh, shit. Yeah, that's not good. So James hides in a nearby closet, hiding from whatever that thing is. You know someone wants to fuck it, though. Let's be for real.
Toothless kinda hot? Who the fuck is that?
The dragon! From out of the... Stop! Then it approaches the closet. It knows James is in there. So James gets the bright idea of just shooting his little pistol at the giant metal head guy. Yeah, that'll work, man. You'll get him. But funny enough, it actually does manage to work, as the giant pyramid head man then just leaves. Well, that was weird, but I guess that worked.
Congratulations. You won.
Okay, but seriously, what is that thing? And what was it doing to that mannequin monster? Does that thing rule the town here? And where does that red door lead to? Oh, I see. It leads to the building right next door. So we cross over into the Blue Creek Apartments, and this place is in really rough shape.
I would not want to live in a world like this. This looks like skibbity toilet.
There is just debris and rust everywhere. Peeling wallpaper, cracked floors, that ambient droning sound. There's even a new enemy type who explodes when they're down, so that's nice. There's also a grandfather clock with 3 of its hands missing. So we gotta find them and put them in the right position. Now this part is pretty long and arduous, so I'll just cover the highlights. James digging through the toilet. Hey, I had to play this, you're obligated to watch. Dude, I heard about the whole Diddy thing, but I didn't know his parties were this crazy. Yeah, no, I do think the moth room is really cool, though. So after grabbing the minute hand, which, yes, was in the toilet, you go to the room labeled M for mango on a fork. But the door is covered with dead moths and shit. And once you go inside, it's just a bunch of moths. And both the visuals and the puzzle are really creative and cool here. There's also another hole, which I don't like how many holes there are in this game. In the original, there was literally only one hole you had to dig through. It made that one hole really special and gave off the anxiety of what exactly is in there. There's even a brief fake out where James pulls his hand out. It's just real intense. In the remake, though, it's just kind of something you press the A button and do. By the way, we also encounter Angela along the way, lying on the floor in front of a mirror holding a knife up to her face, this time sounding completely out of it, almost half awake.
Oh, it's you.
James notices the knife in her hand and begins talking to her.
Look, I'm not sure what you're planning, but there's always another way.
However, Angela, in a near-suicidal and defeated state, remains despondent.
It's easier just to run. Maybe it's all we deserve.
We?
Me. You. We're all the same.
I'm not like you.
James then asks Angela if she's found her mother yet, to which she starts acting really weird about certain questions.
So all you know is that she lived in this town?
How did you know that?
Well, I just figured because this is where you're looking for her. How else would I know?
He then shows a picture of his wife to Angela and explains that she died 3 years ago. Angela then starts panicking, still looking for her mother, but yet rejects James' offer to help her.
Should I go with you? This town really is dangerous. Now I know what you meant back there in the cemetery.
No, it's okay. Besides, I'd just slow you down.
But before she leaves, she attempts to give James the knife she's holding. However, this results in a short but very uncomfortable and hard to watch breakdown.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do. No! I'm sorry! I've been bad! Please don't!
Well, damn, that's certainly some shit to unpack. Well, for her safety, we at least got the knife away from her. And on a somewhat better note, we at least solved the clock puzzle, which means we can finally leave out of here. Except one problem, Pyramid Head is waiting for us. Yeah, now we're fucked. And by the way, you can't do any damage to him at all. So you just gotta dodge this guy and his attacks. It's certainly intense though, there's no doubt about that. That is until suddenly... Well, damn. Okay, later then. Well, with Pyramid Head now fucked off, we can now go outside at least. Where we see that little girl that stomped her foot in the apartment buildings.
Hey. It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
I don't know. What's a big dum-dum like you doing here anyway?
This girl is also holding some kind of letter in her hand. But if you think we'll find out here what it is, well, you haven't been paying attention clearly.
What you got there?
No, fuck off.
You didn't love Mary anyway.
What? Hey, wait! How do you know her name?
Yeah, actually, that is weird. Well, whatever's going on, we're back on track to Rosewater Park.
Mary, could you really be here?
By the way, this little harbor area, I kinda love it. And I don't know why, but it makes me feel kinda nostalgic. Maybe it's the fact that I live an hour away from Lake Erie, and I'm reminded of some restaurants I would go and frequent up there. Either that or this one time when I went on a Ferris wheel with my ex-girlfriend, and we just started making out over the view of the lake. God damn it, I'm fucking sad now, what the fuck? Well, thank God there's at least no attractive dyed-haired women up here.
Mary?
You know, I should stop talking sometimes.
No. You're... not.
Do I look like your girlfriend?
If you did, we'd have a serious problem. She does, however, look a lot like James's dead wife, Mary. Only this time a lot more seductive and sexy.
I can't believe it. Your face, your voice, you could be...
My name is Maria.
Ooh, Maria, what a subtle name.
I don't look like a ghost, do I?
I'm gonna be honest though, part of me misses the old actress's delivery. The new one is not bad by any means, but the old one just had spunk to her, I guess. I don't know, maybe the old delivery is just lodged in my brain or something. Do I look like your girlfriend? My name is Maria. I don't look like a ghost, do I? Anyways though, James tells Maria the whole dead wife situation, but he's also confused as Mary isn't here. So he begins thinking of other special places Mary could be at. That's when Maria starts flirting with this motherfucker.
There's this one place. Not far from here.
What kind of place?
The kind two lovers might call special.
Backshots or a good career? I will pass on the backshots. I want to focus on myself. I strive for a well-organized schedule that balances work and personal life.
So despite James being reluctant about it, Maria is now coming along with us, as she might know where the special place is. By the way, on that note, the interactions between James and Maria are really adorable, and I love them.
So that's what it was for. Yay! Hey, you think I'd look good in this one?
Oh my god, it's the dress from the original game!
Sure.
Not quite the ringing endorsement, but hey, I'll take it.
James is too dead inside to care.
What will you tell her when you find her?
That I love her.
Oh, then lucky her.
What's that supposed to mean?
I want your sunder dick, James. So we go to Maria's special place, where she has the keys right by her boobies. And turns out the special place is a straight-up strip club, but suddenly Maria leaves through this door.
Maria?
So James looks for her until... Oh my god, ain't no way. This is a new scene, by the way, a Bloober Team original. Don't worry though, because a lot of this is indeed intentional, but doing so will force me to spoil the game, so until then...
Changing my name to Sex. From now on, call me Sex.
Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee for thy sweet love remembered such.
Come on, don't give me that look. I was just kidding.
What is this?
Man does not give a shit. So the actual special place is just nearby. It's just that Maria wanted to flirt with James.
I don't have time to take a break. Mary could be out there, waiting for me.
Hey, this man knows goals.
Mary could be out there.
And I'm not going to ignore it.
I'm here for you, James.
What are you doing?
Well.
Forgot what you're gonna say. Happens to me all the time.
In fact, he knows goals so well, he doesn't even drink at all. In spite of him clearly, you know, fiending. Absolute sunder male. Which does cause Maria to crash out a bit. She can't give him any eagle to, I should stop writing these videos.
The whole thing, it's like a nightmare. I just wanted to get away from it, even for a second. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm only asking for one hot too.
That being said, though, Maria does reassure him that he is being hopeful in the end.
Am I crazy? You know, for thinking she could be here.
Crazy is one word for it, I guess. I can think of another. Hopeful.
Well, that's a nicer way of putting it.
Wowee, what a wholesome scene. So we get back to gameplay, but first, I want to see some of these Heaven's Night posters on the wall.
Is that you?
Would you like it to be?
Hey, yo!
We can save all the flirty flirts for later, though. Right now, we gotta cut through this garden because Maria said so. This is where another new scene happens, where Maria tells us a story of a woman, one who was casted out to die on the lake. However, there was also a man who was deeply in love with her, and he would sneak out and row to her because he loved her so much. But then one day, a really bad storm broke out. But in spite of that, though, the man kept looking for her, and the woman kept holding up her candle looking for him, which is why that woman now has a statue in this garden here. All this, however, James does not give a shit about.
She's not here. And why would she be? I don't even remember this place.
There's plenty of other places to look. We can still...
Oh shit, it's a scream sound effect. And it's coming from inside this movie theater here. So we leave Maria behind for a minute and investigate.
You didn't seem bored a minute ago.
Hey, that's Eddie with that little girl from earlier. Wilp, our cover's blown now. We do, however, catch Eddie still sitting there, though, eating a whole ass tub of melted ice cream.
At least you got your appetite back.
We also find out that little girl's name, which is Laura. And also the fact that Eddie might be weirdly mad at us, all because we turned him down earlier in that bathroom.
You coming?
Now you want me to come with you?
Never mind.
Also worth mentioning, yes, the scene is very different from the original. For one thing, the original game was in a bowling alley, not in a movie theater. The big thing, though, is the removal, sort of the infamous line.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Now, I know all the purists are crying and spitting and slobbering everywhere, but I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely do think this scene is better in the remake, as Eddie comes off more as an oversensitive character than just the comedic relief, and more properly builds up what happens to him later in the game, and allows James to not be a fucking asshole. Also, side note, the bowling alley is still in the game, and going there gives you a very adorable little reference, which is, you know, appreciated.
This town's full of monsters. Who could just sit here and eat pizza?
He said the thing!
Anyways, we keep chasing Laura through the movie theater, only for her to escape outside.
Maria? Did you see the little girl?
Yeah, I tried to stop her, but she went that way. We can still catch her.
So we chase Laura till we get to Brookhaven Hospital. Ah yes, hospitals in a horror game. This can't go wrong at all.
Where did she go?
I don't know. Let's look around.
Alright, so to condense this part down a bit. Ooh, spooky nurse picture. Ooh, spooky noises. Ooh.
What was that?
It's Slenderman! Ooh, spooky basement area. Don't worry, guys, there's no jump scares in this video. Except that one, my bad. Maria then gets tired, though, all of a sudden. So she decides to sleep in the middle of this abandoned hospital.
It's nothing. Probably just a hangover.
Bitch, you had like a fifth of a glass of alcohol. So now we gotta navigate this spooky hospital all by ourselves. All with a brand new enemy type, the bubblehead nurses. If these are the most human enemies so far? Of course, though, their movements and porcelain doll heads say otherwise. And the remake adds those red squares to their mouths. It's just like the ones we've been using to save with. Huh, I wonder what that means. More importantly, though, wood. Also, I keep hearing this weird breathing ambience in the background. This has been going on for a while, but I can't stop ignoring it anymore. It is effective though, on top of the rest of the sound design. All of it is just incredible. Just in general, Bloober Team really nailed the atmosphere here. Which, to be fair, even though I didn't like Bloober Team's previous game, The Medium, a lot, the one thing that game it did nail was its atmosphere. It also nailed telling you how much it loves Silent Hill 2. The problem is, nobody told Bloober Team that nail goes in wood and not into your skull. Oh, by the way, you can also check on Maria if you want, which will in fact be important for later.
Thanks for checking up on me. It's very sweet of you.
Yeah. Get some rest. I'll get back soon.
Anyway, so we do these puzzles scattered around the area. These give us bracelets, which let us do the bracelet puzzle, which helps us finish this book and vault a puzzle here, which then gives us a rooftop key. So we head to the roof, look around for a bit, and then... Damn, this guy's just showing up to shit now. James awakens in a different part of the hospital, and thankfully it's finally a part where Laura is.
Laura?
How do you know my name?
Eddie told me.
So James asks Laura how she knows Mary.
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No. I won't. Please, just... I need to know.
Mary's my friend. We met at the hospital last year.
Stop lying. Laura, I'm sorry.
Nice going, James, you fucking idiot.
Fine, don't believe me. See if I care.
James then grabs Laura, hoping to escort her out, only for her to reveal something new.
Sorry, Laura, but I can't let you just run around this place. You might get hurt.
Hurt by what?
Wait, what do you mean hurt by what? There are monsters everywhere.
Stay with me, okay?
There's something I gotta get.
What is it?
A letter. For Mary.
Oh, damn, what the hell?
What?
I hid it. In there.
Oh, come on. So we go inside this not scary location here, only for Laura to suddenly close the door behind us and lock us in. Yeah, nice going, James. Also, to make things worse, we're not here alone either.
Please open the door. There's something in here.
Of course, Laura just leaves us to die instead.
See ya, fart face.
Laura! Laura!
Holy Christ! What is that? I can't even describe it, but it has a mouth on its... Ew! I hate that! Ew! I mean, the boss itself is pretty easy. You just kind of shoot it a bunch of times. But God, if this isn't grotesquely eldritch. Thankfully, though, we do end up killing it. And get a... I don't want to say good view, but, like, descriptive one, I guess. Oh, damn. Okay, something's happening now.
James. James.
We wake back up in wherever this is. The game says it's the hospital, but it's grimy and rusted like the Blue Creek apartments again. And was this giant gaping hole here before? What about,
Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
And look at this room with all these chains and shit. All of them chained to this one locked box here. And for this, we need 2 codes and 1 key hidden somewhere, I guess. Well, we can get the key from brutalizing this mannequin here. Wow, this game sure does hate mannequins. Poor bastards, they don't even do anything. We can also get one of the codes by reading this note here, instructing us to count pills in the sink and shit. And the third by finding this electroshock therapy bed, one that we can turn on which burns a code into it. Alrighty, very straightforward. Just throughout all this, be careful of the new enemy type. These otherworld bubblehead nurses are covered in black tar and carry knives this time. Again, I love the new enemy variety here. It really spices up the game. By the way, is it just me or is there a woman screaming in the background? I swear to God, I'm not hearing things. And the notes we find throughout the game are starting to get a lot creepier. But now we can open up that box. And inside of it, we find absolutely nothing. Even James is like, bro, what the fuck? Right behind us, though, emerges the painting of a woman. One who has an elevator button in her mouth and 2 spots for rings on her hands. Well, let's head to the very not scary basement of this place.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Oh my God, no way.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Trick or Treat.
They kept this dumb shit in?
Welcome to another exciting edition
edition of Trick or Treat.
I can't believe they kept in the stupid-ass elevator game show. You know, they didn't have to do this, but I'm glad they did. Anyways, we find one of the rings here. And hey, Maria's also here.
James.
Mary. Oh.
Damn, James, just gonna do her like that?
Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway?
So Maria's mad that we abandoned her. And a scene that, weirdly enough, in my opinion, is actually worse than the original.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway?
I know I've made fun of the original game's voice acting up to this point, but once I got used to it, it gave the game this weird David Lynch kind of charm, and made moments like this really stand out. In the original game, Maria sounds way more pissed and angry at James, and the scene as a result is way more uncomfortable. James, please, for the love of God, stop watching that movie on your fucking telephone. There's also the removal of certain lines for some reason. Lines that really give the impression of Maria just tearing into James. I'm gonna guess it's because they wanted to make the scene more subtle or something, but I don't know, it just ends up being less impactful.
What do you mean, anyway? I was almost killed back there. I have never been so scared in my whole life. All you care about is that dead wife of yours. Anyway! What do you mean, anyway? You don't sound very happy to see me. I was almost killed back there. Why didn't you try to save me? All you care about is that dead wife of yours.
Also, I really don't like the sad piano in this scene. The original game had this dark ambient track, which I really prefer. It makes the scene uncomfortable, while the piano makes it more overtly dramatic. This is meant to be the first time we realize that something is kind of off with Maria, but the original game sells it way better to me. Like, just notice how vastly different the tones are between these two scenes. It's crazy.
You couldn't care less about me, could you?
No, I just...
Then stay with me. Don't leave me alone again. You're supposed to take care of me. You couldn't care less about me, could you?
No, I just...
Then stay with me. Don't ever leave me alone. You're supposed to take care of me.
In a game with otherwise phenomenal performances, it's pretty shocking that this is the one that's kind of underwhelming as hell. But either way, Maria's now back in our party. And eventually we find this thing, which James tries to open up.
Having trouble there?
You think you could give me a hand?
You're supposed to be the big man around here. How's a little girl like me supposed to help?
Well, damn, okay, bitch, be like that.
Stay out my mother out, bitch. I'ma go be green, or I can pick a ring.
We do get it open, though, and Maria finds something.
What's this? Not very cute, is it? Here, why don't you take it?
Thanks.
So now we can put both rings on that painting, which opens up our way out of here. A way that Maria has bad vibes about.
Something doesn't feel right.
Come on. It's gonna be fine.
So we head down to this area where nothing bad will happen at all.
Run!
Oh, shit.
Come on, hurry!
So James tries his best to save Maria, but then... well, dang, there she goes. I mean, maybe Maria wasn't the most stable love interest, but she was maybe the closest thing James had to moving on. But now she's just gone, damn. I do think, however, the original scene is more impactful, as Maria screaming James's name made things way more visceral. And it makes the silence with the piano song Magdalene way more deafening as a result. Also, this piano song Magdalene is a different key in the remake, which is very weird. A weird change, but I guess the effect is still there. It is really sad though. James has been lonely for 3 years grieving his wife, and along comes a woman who looks just like her. She's a more lively, different person, sure, but she's someone James can connect to. She's kind of the closest thing James has to moving on, and now she's dead. Damn. At the end, Maria just becomes another Mary, and that destroys James. It's something you meditate on as you walk out of this hospital slowly. The piano in the background setting just the entire mood. But moving on, James spots Laura outside, so we wander these raining streets looking for her, until we find this message written in blood. The door that awakes in darkness, opening into nightmares. And it's right next to a half-open door, one that leads to this giant tunnel here, crawling with enemies with these mouths for hands. And all I'll say about them, they're a bitch to deal with. On the way there, we also meet Angela again, in another brand new scene the remake added. And this scene it's fine. It adds a bit more to James and Angela's dynamic, only for her to suddenly start seeing something. But then when James tries to comfort her, she then blows up at him and runs away. We also get some more small glimpses of Angela's insecurities. Through this, you can probably guess her history and feel very worried about her.
Hi, Mama. She doesn't want to see me anymore.
Why would you think that?
There really isn't a lot to say with this scene, but I do like how the remake characterizes James still, who, in spite of being depressed and grieving, does, again, care about the other people around him. And seeing how Angela responds to that, if you know what happens later, it hits home, I'll just say that.
Anyway, I'm happy to see you.
Happy to see me?
Alive, I mean.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyways, the next stop is the Silent Hill Historical Society, a small little local museum of sorts. We get some nice photographs and paintings like this boat here, or this coal mine if you're into coal mines.
I'm in love with the miners.
Or how about this guy, born with no name? Or this painting of... what is that? Or this one of a room with a giant hole? Or this massive one of... this one's titled Misty Day, Remains of the Judgment. Yeah, it's certainly chilling seeing him here. And hey, look, it's that Lady of the Lake statue that Maria showed us earlier. We can even read about her a little bit. Awesome. Wait, something isn't right here. So if you actually read this thing, it turns out Maria's been omitting details. For one thing, the woman was accused of witchcraft. Alright, not a big deal, I guess. But Maria also claimed that the man died in a storm, which is not what happened. There was no storm. The weather was fine in the story. No, rather, the man mistook the moon's light for the woman's candle, and as a result, he unknowingly got lost. And he ended up dying by tipping his boat over from exhaustion. Maria said this was a love story.
But she's become something of a local saint. Patron of undying love.
But that's not true. This is meant to be a cautionary tale. So Maria was just manipulating us. That's weird of her to do, and she's dead now, we can't really ask her. But that kinda has to mean this story has some symbolic meta significance, right? A guy looking for a woman only to be guided astray by the moon? Sounds kinda like where James is at right now, right? So is this whole thing all in our head? In the back of the Historical Society, there's a giant gaping entryway. Right through it is a long downward staircase. The bottom completely engulfed in darkness. The only sound we hear is an ominous foghorn. I think you all feel the vibes here. It's a very impactful moment, but one that feels like a very silent gateway into hell itself. We finally reach the bottom and enter Toluca Prison, to where in a separate room we find a giant hole. Well, I guess no choice but to jump down it. We wake up in a giant well that thankfully we can break out of. We then enter a room with a key that we need lying down on the ground. Then suddenly the room goes dark, and once our flashlight comes back on, bugs everywhere. There's also a keypad with a code that's highlighted, but the code changes every time you play the game. This part borders on being horrifying and just straight up frustrating. Fuck atmosphere, bro. So we keep frantically guessing until we finally get the code right, only for the room to lead to yet another giant hole. We wake up disoriented and see a dead body on a nearby table.
Ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head and
Eddie?
Oh, hi, James.
So yeah, we encounter Eddie, who may or may not have just killed somebody, with Eddie claiming that the man made him do it.
So he attacked you, and you shot him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He made me do it.
Okay, calm down, Eddie.
During all this, though, James catches Eddie in a lie. So Eddie's just killing people for sport and bullshitting about it.
He kept looking at me, making fun of me. I told him not to, but he didn't listen.
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because the way they looked at you.
You should see your face, James. I was just joking. The guy was dead when I got here. I got you, didn't I?
But, you know, regardless, I don't think he did it personally. With all that, Eddie then leaves. But this certainly won't be the last time we see him.
You're gonna go out there alone?
Yeah.
Well, by the way, we're moving into Toluca Prison now. This part in the remake has been praised the most by fans and critics, and for the most part I'd agree. Because the most important part about the original Toluca Prison was the psychological stress. The quieter areas sound like they're breathing down your shoulder, while the louder areas sound more like, I'm not someone who usually experiences sensory overload, but this here's an exception and I wouldn't have it any other way. In the remake though, it's more about building tension, and thankfully, it's really good at it. I really enjoy how this version uses darkness as a main mechanic, with things like timed light switches that go out, and a new mannequin enemy that climbs up walls and shit. This is on top of the music and the ambience working against you, especially when there's like metal sounds in the music, always giving you the feeling of something is around the corner somewhere. They also kept in that bathroom jump scare, which I also really appreciate. There's even a few new scares, like when you get locked in this jail cell here, and then you hear someone laughing and the door is rattling and clanking and your light goes out, and then it just stops and there's nothing there. Man, that's pretty spooky. In my opinion, both versions of Toluca Prison are very effective. If the long staircase is the entryway to hell, this is the first floor. The most important thing to preserve, though, is the gallow room. A large, dark room that, unlike the prison area, is completely quiet. Well, not completely, actually. For some reason, you're walking on wet soil, and on top of that, we're also not alone here. Or are we? Because there's nothing else in this room. So what's making those footstep horse galloping noises? Now, in the center of the room, there's a bunch of gallows. And in the center, a stone carving of two pyramid heads hanging a man. It's certainly an eerie sight. The original, though, was just one gallows with 3 nooses on it, which to me is way more eerie. Just seeing this single gallows in the center of this dark, empty room. It's meant to be evocative of suicide. And not just that, but there are also nooses for James, Angela, and Eddie, which obviously makes sense, especially if you know the game's themes already. Meanwhile, the remake combines that puzzle with a different gallows puzzle later in the game, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this puzzle in its own way. I like how when you re-enter the room later, it starts raining, and what you gotta do when you actually do the puzzle is connect these poems together. However, these poems aren't just poems, they're also confessions, and you have to figure out which person here is innocent. However, the answer of who exactly is innocent changes on every playthrough, and you know what? That's cool and awesome, but I do prefer that original eeriness and how it ties into the rest of the story. They also removed one of the most effective jump scares from the original, where when you finish the original noose puzzle, you hear the sound of a man screaming. You never find out what it is or what the horse noises are, the game just fucks with you the whole time. In an otherwise great area, this is a minor disappointment to me. But anyways, James pulls the right noose and we continue forward. But not before he kind of just looks at it a little bit. You okay, James? Well, we're even deeper now. Now where the hell are we? I think I saw that leg move. I'm just gonna keep moving forward. There's another hole. There's another hole that we have to jump down, and that hole, it leads to another hole. Now where the hell are we? So this is the hallway of an apartment building, and there's whispering everywhere. Along the way, we can find a bloodied newspaper on the ground, which describes the murder of a Thomas Oro something, who was killed with multiple stab wounds, and has a history of alcohol-influenced violence. Huh. Thomas Oro something. That sounds familiar. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, I think you get the picture. Angela killed her dad, and with the newspaper saying that he had a history of drunkenness and violence, it couldn't have been unprovoked. Now, with that, I gave a warning at the very beginning, a very brief one, but I'm gonna give a second one now. We are about to explore a scene that depicts the topic of assault. Now, in my opinion, it is very tastefully done, and one of the best explorations of assault in any work of art. However, while the game does rely on the power of implication more than anything, it also really does not fuck around. So, continue at your own discretion, and feel free to leave the video if you are not comfortable watching any further. So we walk into what is presumably Angela's apartment, where, by the way, we walk by the door of her brother. I keep note of him because I will talk about him in a little bit. But we head into Angela's room and find her on the ground.
I'll be good, I promise. Tell him I'll be good, please.
James tries approaching her, but it only seems to make things worse.
Angela, it's me.
No, please.
This is the beginning of the Abstract Daddy boss fight.
Daddy!
Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear what this thing is meant to represent. From its bed-like frame with its arms and legs, to its weird two-headed mound of flesh writhing on top, and even the bottom head looks a little bit disgustingly phallic. And then there's the boss itself, which is an intense barrage of noise and screaming. The exception, though, being Angela's crawl space, which removes all sound entirely. There's also a TV playing her father's words of abuse, but it's very jumbled.
What you sick? What Look at me!
Destroying it also pisses off the Abstract Daddy even more, making the fight even more intense than it already was. The wallpaper begins peeling too, revealing this flesh-like substance. You start seeing prison bars throughout the area, and the deeper you go, the less the apartment looks like an apartment, with machine ambience that sounds like bed squeaking. Start seeing holes in the walls, the place gets more and more violent until it becomes this giant flesh prison, complete with more imagery like thrusting pipes. This is a very intense but effective boss fight, and more shockingly, a pretty big improvement over the original, which, while the environment had amazing symbolism and everything, the boss itself was just running to any corner of the room and shooting the guy. Here we get proper storytelling, and I really like that, but it also preserves and refines the #1 thing the original game did, which was being tasteful and subtle, but also not shying away from how fucked up and intense this is. Not even for a second or anything is there any gratuitous or graphic act being shown, but yet it uses the power of implication and symbolism to make you think about it, which makes it just as, if not more horrifying, than just straight up showing the act. What's even more terrifying, though, is the idea that this is just what James sees. The creator of Silent Hill 2's monsters himself confirmed this, and this leads to a whole new world of implications. For one thing, it implies that every character we've met so far have been going through their own individual Silent Hills. But more importantly, it speaks to the difference of victims and non-victims. And during this scene, Angela is seeing and reliving these assaults she went through as a child. But to James, even though he's right there up in her personal hell, it's still abstract to him. And that's something that's really powerful to say. The pain and trauma of being a assault victim is something that, to to a regular person is very abstract. Sure, you can imagine what a victim goes through, but you can't truly understand the extent of their personal pain unless you are one yourself. But hey, this is a boss fight after all. We've got guns and ammo and shit. We can take on Angela's trauma ourselves. And that means poetically we can save her. Except, no, that's not what happens. Because immediately when James tries calming Angela down, she lashes out at him.
It's okay. Calm down.
Don't order me around!
I'm not, I just...
Angela, in the middle of a breakdown, does not trust us.
It's okay. It's over.
Don't even try.
Try what?
Like you don't know. It's always the same with you. You're only after one thing.
Angela, please.
You don't have to lie. Or you could just force me. Like he always did.
Yeah, there's no sad hugs or thank yous or anything. Angela is still a deeply broken assault victim, and that kind of trauma, sadly, doesn't truly go away. If that wasn't sad enough, it's also implied that Angela's brother also assaulted her. So, justifiably, she does not trust any male figure. As a result of this, she also starts tearing into James personally.
Angela, I don't know who you think I am, but I don't want to hurt you. I just want to get my Mary back.
Your Mary. Your own little Mary. At least she was.
What?
Admit it. You didn't want her around anymore.
She then accuses James of being unfaithful, with James briefly lashing out back, triggering Angela, prompting her to leave and the scene ending there.
Probably found someone else.
No.
I need to find my mama.
It's a scene where two deeply broken people are cutting deep into each other. And overall, the entire scene is just heart-wrenching to witness. But it's also a reason why we do need to explore these themes in art. When it comes to fiction, I feel like there are people, both survivors and non-survivors, who think SA should never be talked about in art or fiction ever. And to be fair, it's not like there's no reason for this, as especially recently we've seen works handle SA just completely incompetently. But at the same time, I do see a work like Silent Hill 2, one that handles this topic with maturity, a work that through discomfort helps you understand the pain and trauma of real survivors, while also making very powerful statements on how we view survivors in the world. And as a result, I disagree with the idea that assault should never be explored in fiction ever, because Silent Hill 2 really does help us understand the perspective of abuse victims. It puts a very hard to understand trauma for non-survivors into artistic actuality. And furthermore, I've both read things from and talked to other survivors who found Angela in Silent Hill 2 to be one of the very few times they felt heard. She's a character who survivors can identify with and find comfort in, reminding them that they're not alone. And that's why this is important to cover in art. Now, of course, I obviously don't intend to speak on behalf of anyone or over anyone. All survivors are different, and I'm not a survivor myself. And obviously, I feel it's a very different story if you don't play this game because it's personally triggering for you. That is completely understandable. I get that. But to the people that do think that SA should never ever be covered in art, I disagree, and this game is the reason why I do. It's obviously not an easy thing to cover, but without people who took on that challenge, we wouldn't have a game that tackles it as well as Silent Hill 2 does. But of course, now we have to move on to the Labyrinth area, a place that doesn't have a real map. James has to draw it in himself. And down the hall, we see this entryway of hands and limbs. And right around the corner, this large dark hole. And right next to it, a flight of stairs leading to a doorway that...
Maria?
Oh shit, Maria's alive, but she died.
Maria! I thought that thing killed you. Are you hurt?
Not at all, silly.
But the thing... It stabbed you. There was blood everywhere.
So Maria doesn't remember anything at all. Or does she?
James.
What are you talking about?
Just before. Don't you remember?
This, though, brings up a question I have. So, I've mentioned that every character in this game is going through their own Silent Hill in a way. There's Angela, which, yeah, we just saw what happened with her. And with Eddie, the guy's just killing random people at this point. But also, back at the movie theater, he tells Laura about cops and other monsters.
Why are you sitting here? I thought you said the cops were after you.
Nah, I don't think they followed me here. Besides, I blocked the door, so no one could get in. Not the cops, and not these other monsters.
Except, wait a minute. What cops? Oh yeah, and what about Laura? Laura didn't see or hear that giant flesh lip monster from earlier, and seems very weirdly unaware of all the monsters in the area. Almost like they aren't there at all. Ooh.
This is spooky.
So I think it's safe to say that Silent Hill is different for all of these characters. But the one character this doesn't apply to is Maria. Because we know damn well she's seen everything.
With all these monsters around?
On top of that, we barely know shit about her. And she still showed up a little too conveniently in what James thought was Mary's special place. So if she did see the monsters we did, but clearly shouldn't have, then who exactly is Maria?
You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Maria?
She also seems to know some personal details about James and Mary, including the existence of a mysterious videotape, and she says it like she is Mary.
You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made. I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
James tries further questioning, but is not given any kind of clear answer, eventually growing more and more frustrated.
So you are Maria?
I am. If you want me to be.
All I want from you is an answer.
This leads to more emotional manipulation from Maria, catering to James's more intimate desires.
Doesn't matter who I am. I am here for you, James. See? I'm real.
James, still completely confused, tells Maria he'll come back and free her from that prison she's in.
I'll find some way to... I'll come back, I promise.
So, is Maria Mary then? Or what if she's something worse? What if she can see all those creatures because she is...
Silence, fearsome creatures to be wary of. Their song was so beautiful and so enchanting that it had the power to lure men towards dangerous rocks on the island where they...
I can report the murder of a wife and her 2 children by their husband and father. The father purchased the rifle used in the crime at his local gun store 2 days earlier.
Dad was such a drag. Every day he'd eat the same kind of food, dress the same, sit for the same kind of games. Don't touch that dial now, we're just getting started.
Some kind of strange box. A box that rotates this giant room in front of us, taking us to these different areas. The first one being the rotten area, which is full of tight claustrophobic hallways. There's also an acid bathtub in here, and a fridge full of
hobbies. We have the...
Oh, and can't forget the scary office cubicle. Next is the desolate area. I already hate it. Well, it can't be that bad. Okay, never mind. You know what? Suck my dick. No more analog horror for you, loser.
You want to win all the gift cards down?
No, I don't want the gift card. And then there's the ruined area. And ruined is right because I don't like this area at all. I hope you really like locked red doors that jump scare you and put you in forced combat encounters. After so many other creative scares in this game, this is just mildly annoying. There is one cool part though when you reach that wall of hands but in a different area. But then suddenly down the hallway Pyramid Head comes out, and it's while running from him when you realize it, his sword makes this giant door into a bridge.
Ooh,
Ooh, kill him.
We then make it into this door where Maria is. But bad news, she's dead. Again, but this time from some kind of disease, causing James to break down crying, as he's reminded of why he's here in the first place.
Mary.
Heading upstairs, though, we find Pyramid Head's giant sword, just mysteriously planted out of nowhere. This lets us go through that giant wall of limbs, leading to some kind of indoor graveyard. Among these graves, though, are the names of Eddie, Angela, and James Sunderland. And right in front of our grave, a great giant hole. And on the other side, a giant dark hallway with the end covered in blood. And at the end of that...
Couldn't leave well enough alone, huh?
We find Eddie more unhinged than usual, which is indeed saying a lot, which is where we finally understand his motives. Eddie was bullied and mocked for his weight all his life, causing long-term traumatic disdain.
What's it look like I'm doing? You fat, disgusting piece of shit, you make me sick. You gonna cry, fat ass? You gonna run to your mama? Waste of skin, why don't you just kill yourself?
As a result, Eddie wants to take this out on the rest of the world. He truly believes he's unlovable, which boiled over into complete and utter anger, which then, in turn, transformed into nihilistic vengeance.
Maybe I am. Nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead. And a corpse can't laugh!
And to make things worse, James Sunderland is next on his hit list. Every time James left him or made a light comment, Eddie took way too hard, and believes that James, like everyone else, is there to make fun of him.
You want to talk down to me some more? Tell me to relax? You're just like the rest of them, James.
No, I don't want...
Shut up! You think I'm stupid. You think I don't see it. But you've been laughing at me all along. Ever since we first met. You ain't laughing now, are you?
By the way, the game's overall build-up, again, is a big improvement over the original. It feels much more natural and less abrupt than the original, and really solidifies he's a walking on eggshells kind of person a lot better. Also, the addition of James punching Eddie is pretty hilarious.
You need help, Eddie.
Don't get all holy on me, James. This town called you too.
Wait, but actually, Eddie does have a point there. Think about the three names on those tombstones. Eddie, Angela, and James. First off, Eddie, obviously he's just killing people. You know, the verdict may or may not be still out there.
Yeah, I ran away after I killed that dog. But you know what? It was fun. It tried to chew its own guts up. Finally died all curled up in a ball.
Yeah, just a case of irony poisoning. But then there's Angela, who also killed someone, her father. Yeah, he was sexually abusing her for years, but the town still called her. I don't think it cares. Here's the question I'm getting at with all this. Why is James here?
You and me are the same. We're not like other people, don't you know that? Well, you're about to find out.
This begins the boss fight with Eddie, this intense freezer locker room boss fight. The fog makes him hard to see, the meat will move around while you try and shoot him. It's another really good boss fight. But believe it or not, they had to tone it down from the original, because the original Eddie boss fight is straight up sadistic. I'm going to show it now, but just to warn you, this boss fight is beyond cruel and cements you deep into Eddie's disturbed mind.
Let's party!
The was too stunned to speak.
So we then kill Eddie, with James looking at his hands, realizing what he's done. This is opposed to the original where...
Eddie? Eddie?
What happened to you? I have no clue what could have possibly happened to you.
I killed a human being.
Embarrassing!
Anyways, we head out back and find this rowboat here. James then aboards it and begins rowing, which starts this long scene where you're just rowing, the only light being the one in the distance amongst the sea of fog. I love these scenes in the game. It feels so personal and intimate. It really encapsulates a kind of lethargic, depressed feeling for me, but in a way that feels cathartic. It's kind of hard to describe. But we finally arrive at the Lakeview Hotel, James and Mary's special place, where we promptly get jump scared by Laura.
Did I scare you?
Guess I deserved it, huh? The fart face that I am.
Maybe.
This is where James and Laura start connecting a little bit. So it turns out Laura is also looking for Mary. This is because Laura befriended Mary at the hospital. It's unclear why Laura was there, but honestly, you don't need to know. Long story short, she was an orphan and Mary was her mother figure. And she even has a letter she found in Mary's nurse's locker, one that she allows James to read.
I love you, Laura. I love you like my very own daughter. I wish things were different. I wish we could be happy together, like we talked about.
Mary would also talk a lot about Silent Hill to Laura, who would in turn misinterpret part of Mary's letter, the part about the quiet, beautiful place.
I'm far away now. In a quiet, beautiful place.
And thinks she's literally talking about Silent Hill, an actual place. And James believes her and goes with it because, you know what, after all the Pyramid Head shit, anything's possible at this point.
Is this the quiet, beautiful place she was talking about?
Me and Mary talked a lot about Silent Hill. She even showed me all her pictures. She really wanted to come back.
But during this, James realizes something.
Happy 8th birthday, Laura.
Laura. How old are you?
I turned 8 last week.
Wait a minute, that doesn't line up. Because if Mary's death was 3 years ago, but she wished Laura a happy birthday, which happened last week, then...
Mary couldn't have died 3 years ago.
Something James is quick to point out.
Which is it, Abe? Better keep your story straight.
There's also a second letter that Laura's been keeping from James. So she gives him the envelope, but there's nothing inside of it. So Laura runs off again looking for it.
I gotta find it.
Laura.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, this next part drags on quite a bit, so I'm just gonna skip most of it.
I'm sniffing the walls, Maria.
It is admittedly a problem the remake has, where the attempts to make the game longer end up kind of bloating it. Although to be fair, the original game's Lakeview Hotel kinda sucked too. Remember when they ran out of money, so they just put the abstract daddy there for no reason? Oh yes, in 20 years, the white people will be overanalyzing this. Hey, check your media literacy, bitch. What did you... Oh, wait a minute. I'm white! Hey, where you going? You can't make a video essay on this shit! We can, however, catch the voice of Mary in a nearby room. Ooh, spooky. But I guess that means she's alive? So after grabbing a room key and a VHS tape, hopefully it's not a Home Alone 2 again this time. I don't want a repeat of the incident. We head inside this empty hotel room, complete with a single chair, a TV, and a VHS player. And reading between the lines, I can tell this is maybe it. The moment where we learn the real truth.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful.
There you are. Do you know where Mary is?
Mary's gone.
She died because she was sick.
I killed her.
So it turns out James murdered Mary, and her dying 3 years ago was a complete lie, and he's been repressing it the whole game. And this changes the entire context of the game, including retroactively a lot of those morbid dark puzzles. And those monsters too, like the morbid body bag things, the nurses, the mannequins, even Maria, she's a sexualized version of Mary. The town is a manifestation of James's guilt for murdering his wife. It's the one thing that links Eddie, Angela, and James all together. And naturally, Laura is upset at him for killing his wife and the one mother figure she's had. So you can't blame her when she yells at him and runs off again, leaving James not with his wife he loves so much, but with the truth that he killed her. And as the room around him corrupts, he sits there alone. It's just, man, it's an effective twist. The foreshadowing, the intrigue, the way all the characters tie into this whole central theme. 20 years on, it's still an effective twist, but god damn. But then suddenly James hears Mary's voice on the radio. Clearly and somehow, Silent Hill isn't done with him yet.
Don't leave me out here, James! James!
And now, like the other buildings, Lakeview is now completely rusted over. And by the way, the song that plays, Blank Fairy, so amazingly fitting and perfectly crafted. It kind of has that classic Dead Inside sound, you feel me, dog? I'm looking for someone very special to me. Is down this way?
I don't fucking know who the fuck you are, but I can suck your fucking dick and that makes you feel better.
We then head down to the basement and find this glowing room. And on the other side, we find Angela on a burning staircase. And at first, she's delirious, thinking we're her mother she's been looking for, only to quickly realize it's just us.
You're not my mama. It's you.
We get some pretty fucked up revelations through this. For example, Angela's sexual abuse is something she blames herself for. Self-guilt is already a very common thing amongst SA survivors, and that's very tragic already. But it turns out Angela's mother would also blame her, meaning Angela was abused by each and every member of her family, and yet believes that she deserves it.
Thank you for helping me earlier. But I wish you hadn't. Even Mama said it. I deserve what happened.
No, Angela, that is not true.
It is endlessly sad, but also pretty deeply thought-provoking given the context. So, on pure face value, yeah, Angela, Eddie, and James are all guilty of murder. Of course, in the case of Angela, we still see her as innocent. Her father was abusing her. She's justified in killing him. But none of that removes Angela's personal guilt, whether rational or not. Reminder, self-blame is very much common amongst real SA victims. And Angela murdering her abuser certainly couldn't have helped that at all. On the complete opposite extreme, though, there's Eddie, someone who was bullied for his weight all his life, but then he began to kill people out of vengeance, and it's the lack of guilt or remorse that sends him down this downward spiral, and he began to find real sadistic pleasure and glee out of slaughtering people. And right in the middle of these two is James Sunderland, a man who killed his wife and spent the entire game in a town that punished him for it, even while he was just repressing it, trying to forget about it. And now he has guilt he has no idea what to do with. And yet, ironically, he has been genuinely trying to help the people around him. But yet, is he really even able to? And by extension, are you able to? There's so many Silent Hill 2 fans that wanted to save Angela in this scene or give her a hug, but would you be able to? How would you go about that? The idea of fixing someone is straight up mocked by Angela in this scene.
Or maybe you think you can save me? Will you love me? Care for me? Heal all my pain? That's what I thought.
Of course, the implication is not victims can't heal, but the reality is healing is not easy. In a way, that's kind of what the town of Silent Hill represents. The difficulty in fighting against your guilt or trauma. The unfortunate question here is, how can you fix someone when you can't even fix yourself? And why would you force someone to some loose definition of self-improvement when they've been through enough already? At the end of the day, Angela's fate is not up to the player or James. It never was. It's first and foremost Angela's choice, and sadly, on the stairway engulfed in flames, she's made her decision.
It's hot as hell in here.
You see it too? For me, it's always like this.
So, to further establish all this, Angela is a trauma survivor whose self-blame and personal guilt, whether we like it or not, whether it's justified or not, let's be honest, again, I don't think the horrific town of Silent Hill cares, ended up consuming her like the flames around her on that staircase. Meanwhile, with Eddie, it's the opposite, as it's the lack of remorse that caused him to go further and further into his depravity, only for him to die alone in that cold freezer room. Poetically, two opposite scenarios. But now where does that leave James, the man who's made the biggest mistake of his life? And in turn, in a metafictional sense, the game is asking you this question. Of course, the whole killing the wife thing is intentionally over the top, but I'm sure everyone here has made some grave mistake. Either that or holding on to some kind of deep-seated guilt. Maybe you hurt someone so deeply and can't really get them back. Maybe it's simply a bad situation you wish you were a better fit for. Replaying fantasy outcomes in your head, wishing it was different. Maybe it's even something as traumatic as what Angela went through, where it wasn't your fault, but for whatever reason, you feel like you deserve it. And that's where it gets really difficult. If I just sit here and say, you don't deserve to feel guilty, that doesn't suddenly absolve it, does it? The thing is, there is nothing wrong or invalid about feeling guilt, even if it's unjustified. You're human, it's going to happen. However, the question is, what are you going to do about it? And this question is now pointed squarely at James, as he walks into this room with 9 save squares. Now, the popular theory is that this represents the 9 delusions of James, or the 9 creatures he kind of mentally created, or the 9 creatures you face before and after this moment, meaning all the enemies and bosses, basically. I guess that makes sense. You got the sexy nurses who are in the hospital. You also have the mannequin monsters, which appear right next to Mary's dress, which is on a mannequin. Although we can't be entirely sure of this, though, as Masahiro Ito, the Pyramid Head guy, said he will never tell anyone, while ironically just straight up saying that the abstract daddy is a double meaning for Mary on her deathbed. This, by the way, led people to think that James assaulted Mary, to which Masahiro Ito would respond,
"Don't play Silent Hills again. Never buy the Silent Hills remake."
So I think the theory's been debunked, you know? But James did act weirdly aggressively when Angela accused him of cheating on Mary. So he didn't, you know, do what the theorists think he did. Which, to be fair, they also think a lot of things, so...
The circumcision theory.
But he did murder her, and maybe even thought about cheating on her while she was dying. Which, you know, really isn't a whole lot better. But to be fair, he does loathe himself over it, which makes murdering your wife completely justified. I mean, we've seen what a lack of guilt does to someone like Eddie. There's no way James hasn't already been taking notice either. But at the same time, so has the town with the character of Pyramid Head. Remember that one painting in the Historical Society? Misty Day, Remains of the Judgment? And that one galley judgment puzzle with 2 carvings of a Pyramid Head? So if James was guilty the whole game, then that means we know what Pyramid Head is. He's the executioner. So James enters the next room and sees Maria upside down, strapped in between 2 pyramid heads. Maria then dies, again. But now James acknowledges what exactly Pyramid Head is, and he's ready to face his trauma head on.
I know what you are. I know why I needed you. But it's all over now. I don't need you anymore. I'm ready.
This begins our second to last boss fight against 2 Pyramid Heads. And man, what a cathartic final moment. After a game of droning darkness, you're finally fighting back. And the boss fight being as intense as it is just adds to that. And the way it sounds, goddamn! The remake's revamped soundtrack and sound design make this fight just something else. Like, you can just hear the comparison. My God damn, what were the sound designers doing? But then abruptly, the boss ends, and the two pyramid heads walk away, impaling themselves in the center of the arena. Man, we fought them so good that they killed themselves. There's also a rust-colored egg and a scarlet egg in each one of their hands, each one opening a door to the same hallway. Make no mistake though, this does affect the ending. Same for the hallway right after it, where while walking down this long dark hallway, you can hear dialogue from Mary while she was in the hospital, revealing that while she was dying, she was very emotionally erratic, and would lash out at James even when he tried his best to care for her during her final moments.
What do you want, James? Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already. Get the hell out of here. Leave me alone already. Why are you still here? I told you to go. Are you deaf? Don't come back.
By the way, this is what that mouth and that flesh lip thing was. It's meant to symbolize Mary verbally abusing James. Of course, though, as Mary was literally deteriorating, this behavior is absolutely not something she meant to do. This conversation even shows her breaking down crying right afterwards. You can tell that mentally, she is not entirely in control at all.
James. Wait. Please. Don't go. Don't leave me alone. I didn't mean what I said. Please. Tell me I'll be okay. Tell me I'm not gonna die. Help me.
It also gives us more context as to why James killed Mary. There's no way James wasn't constantly frustrated by Mary's mood swings. Maybe he just wanted to put his wife out of her misery.
I'm no use to anyone. I'll be dead soon anyway. It'd be easier if they just killed me.
Of course, none of these justify James murdering Mary, but they do make things a little more complicated, which I do think is the point. Sometimes the grave mistakes we made aren't always cut and dry. We are emotionally complicated creatures after all. We make it up to the final area of the game, where Mary is.
Mary?
Finally, James found her, waiting for him, which is where now we get to the multiple endings of this game, each one dependent on how you actually play the game. And what makes it even more complicated is that technically they're all canon. You'll see what I mean by the end, but I'll go through them in the most organized way that I possibly can. So first, let's talk the leave ending. If you keep your health relatively high throughout the game, and examine Mary's photograph frequently, and you overall play the game like you want to live, this is the ending you end up getting. James tells Mary he's missed her so much, but this moment does not last too long. James realizes that Mary is Maria, and fully accepts that Mary is gone and dead.
I'm sorry. I know you tried,
James, please.
but she's gone.
This is to the chagrin of Maria, who dramatically is not going to let James go.
What do you want? Do you even know anymore? I'm yours. I'm here for you. So what if I'm not her? I can give you what she never could.
I am so sorry, Maria. I really am. But this has to stop.
Maria, however, is not willing to let go herself.
I won't let you go. I can't!
It's your wife as the final boss, or is it your wife? At this point, I can't even tell anymore. And then at long last, you kill your wife. Wouldn't be the first time. You then fade into a small room. James sees Maria on her deathbed and has one more conversation with her, and tells her that he killed her because he hated her. Although it's pretty clear it comes from a place of conflicted self-loathing.
I told you. I wanted the pain to end.
Yeah. You did. But that's not why I did it. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
The idea of James being conflicted is much more apparent in the original game, with the remake again omitting certain lines which I'm not a big fan of, that really emphasize again how conflicted James was about killing Mary.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer. No. That's not true. You also said you didn't want to die. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
It really shows how complicated of a person James was. He was someone who made the worst mistake of his life. But Mary is there to remind James that he hasn't lost any empathy.
If that's true, then why do you look so sad?
Mary.
It's okay, James.
Mary then gives him a letter, the one that Laura lost, and in it, Mary writes to James right before she died, which turns out is the full version of her letter we heard in the beginning of the game.
In my restless dreams, I see that town.
We get things like Mary describing how she felt in the hospital, herself apologizing for lashing out at him. We hear her pain, regrets, and everything, even her own thoughts of self-loathing.
So, I wait. Wrapped in my cocoon of pain and loneliness. I know I've done a terrible thing to you. I wish I could change that, but I can't. I feel so pathetic and ugly laying here. Every day I stare up at the cracks in the ceiling, and all I can think about is how unfair it is. When I first learned I was gonna die, I couldn't accept it. I was so angry. I struck out at everyone I loved. Especially you.
She even acknowledges how hard it was for James, suspecting, of course, that he hated her, and she's afraid of how much she hurt him.
I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. Every time you come to see me, I can tell how hard it is on you. I don't know if you hate me or pity me. Maybe I just disgust you.
It's really sad because, again, she couldn't control any of this. And knowing the context of what James would eventually do, it just makes this more tragic. Mary is even more of a victim. But even so, no matter what, Mary still tells James that she loves him. And above all else, she wants him to move on.
But I want you to know, I will always love you. Even though our life together had to end like this, I still wouldn't trade it for the world. I want you to go on. I want you to live for yourself and for others, like you did for me. James, you made me happy.
And James, with the knowledge that he made Mary happy, takes in Laura like his own daughter, and the two of them leave Silent Hill together. If there was ever a scene that looked like forgiveness, this would be it, with James getting reconciliation and closure. But for a game this bleak and dark, this is a surprisingly optimistic ending, where James forgives himself, lets go of his guilt, and moves on. Wow, with a beautiful ending like that, it makes you wonder what the other endings are like. In the in-water ending, James kills himself. Yeah, there's not really an easy way to say anything else. You get this ending by keeping your health low and not really healing a lot, going through the rust egg door and listening to the whole conversation in that hallway, and inspecting Angela's knife often. And you get this ending of James just sitting in his car. In this ending, James realizes he can't forgive himself, no matter how hard he tries.
I miss you so much. I tried. I really did, but I can't go on without you. I can't forgive myself for what I've done.
Now, this is actually in pretty stark contrast to the original, where James actually does have a conversation with Mary, just like the in-water ending. I've seen quite a few people not like this change, and to each their own, that's fine. However, I actually kind of prefer the newer ending, where James realizes he's talking to literally nobody, with Maria's body rotting in his back seat. It's a much bleaker, more silent and hollow ending, and that's kind of the whole point, I feel.
I know this isn't what you would want, But I guess it doesn't matter anymore. You're not here. Are you?
And with no hope in sight, James starts his car and drives him and Maria's body into the lake. We then hear Mary's letter, the one that Laura lost, except now it has a much more morbid meaning.
I want you to go on. I want you to live. For yourself. And for others.
Against Mary's wishes, James failed. He couldn't forgive himself. He couldn't move on. And as a result, the only outcome James could find for himself was suicide. The original ending had a much more we'll be together forever kind of feeling to it. And I'm not a fan of the whole Romeo and Juliet kind of thing going on with that.
Now we can be together.
While we're here, though, I will say, I do prefer the original actress's reading of Mary's letter. Just in general in the original game. But mostly because the original actress actually cried reading it. Which, yeah, that's a kind of lightning that's extremely hard to strike twice.
I'm so sorry for what I did to you. Did to us. You've given me so much, and I haven't been able to return a single thing.
But obviously, aside from that digression, yeah, I do prefer the remake's in water ending. The new ending, I feel, fits the game's themes way better. But again, I understand that is very subjective. On a lighter note, though, there is the Maria ending, where in that giant boss arena, it is actually Mary, your wife, that you do meet, and not Maria. And she's not entirely happy to see you.
You killed me, James.
I couldn't bear to see you suffer.
Don't make excuses.
In this ending, James is still delusional and refuses to really take responsibility for anything.
You really hated me.
It's true, I may have had some of those feelings. It was a long 3 years.
Furthermore, the idea of Maria being James's new fuck toy gets Mary very mad, which initiates the epic wife final boss.
Those were the last precious moments I had. How could I ever forgive you?
We then kill our wife, again, but this time James meets up with Maria and leaves with her. Except, uh-oh, she starts coughing. I wonder what that could have possibly mean.
Better do something about that cough.
Damn, James, okay, maybe the suicide ending is fitting for a guy like you.
My name is Maria.
Oh shit, it's my new bitch now. First I kill my wife, then I fuck my bitch, then I do it again, then I fuck my bitch.
On that note, though, there's also the... Okay, fine, I'll talk about the dog and UFO endings, okay? By finding a dog key and going through a secret door, James finds out that Silent Hill was being controlled by a dog the entire time. Now, in the original game, James speaks Japanese because they forgot to record the English voice lines. Meanwhile, Bloober Team, the Polish studio behind the game, actually plays into this by having James speak Polish with a heavy American accent.
To nie macie być prawda.
There's also a UFO ending, this time triggered by getting a blue gem in New Game Plus. And in the OG game, James meets Harry Mason, the main character of Silent Hill 1, while in the remake it's changed to be the original James from the original Silent Hill 2. And then James, the one you play as, gets abducted by aliens. The UFO endings are kind of a running joke for the franchise.
You honestly believe that your father was abducted by aliens?
This whole town, it's really a giant spaceship.
James?
But nothing will ever be as beautifully written as the dog ending, which is the only canon ending. But anyways, okay, the 3 actual other endings, which are only attainable through a second playthrough, and 2 of them being new to the remake. Now, of course, in contrast to the dog ending, these endings are much more grounded. The Rebirth ending is about James performing a satanic ritual. In New Game Plus mode, you can find a bunch of weird objects. And at the end, James immediately tells Maria that he knows what she is.
I know what you are, Maria.
I just love how genuinely unhinged James is here. Like, even the town of Silent Hill is getting weirded out by him.
There's a way. I can still bring her back.
What? No, that's not true.
But before I do, I need to kill that part of me that still clings to you.
Who the hell do you think you are?
And then, after killing Maria again, we see James rowing his boat through the lake, mentioning weird cryptic things like the old gods.
Mary, forgive me for waking you. But without you, I just can't go on. The old gods haven't left this place, and they still grant power to those who venerate them. Power to defy even death.
This is more so a slight nod to Silent Hill 1, and further explored in Silent Hill 3, with both games centering much more around a weird cult, more so than some horny white dude and his dead wife. The Rebirth ending fades to black, though, before you see James resurrect anybody, so whether James was actually successful or not is up to interpretation. Personally, though, my headcanon is that he did, and that's not really a good thing, because if the Maria ending is anything to go by, it means history can and will repeat itself, meaning that if James resurrects Mary, he'll probably just kill her again.
Mary.
On a much different note, though, there's the Stillness ending, which again requires you to collect a different item, while also having the In Water ending also completed, which makes sense as the Stillness ending begins just like In Water, with James contemplating suicide.
I tried. I really did, but I can't go on without you.
The ending, however, deviates when Mary's voice is heard in the back of the car, her hand brushing against James's neck, causing him to break down into tears. Which, by the way, side note, Luke Roberts' performance is easily at its best here.
What's wrong, honey?
I miss you so much. I am sorry. I am so sorry.
It's an ending that's much closer to the original In Water ending, but again, I feel is much more of an improvement this time. This is ironically a case where the scene being more subtle does actually help it. Mary is much more ghostly here, and it's hard to tell whether she's really there or just a part of James's imagination.
Will you wait for me?
James. I've always been waiting for you.
The scene ends with James starting his car again, and like the In Water ending, we hear the car crash into the lake, although the audio cue is slightly different. People seem to think this implies that James jumped out beforehand, but again, it's very much ambiguous and hard to tell. But overall, long story short, this is a very beautiful and intimate ending that expands on the remake's In Water so well. And you know, after a whole game of being kind of emotionless, seeing James cry here, a full-on cry, it's nice to see it. There is one more ending too, and that being bliss. You see, if you drink this drug called White Claudia, right before the massive big truth reveal, James is somehow able to transfer his soul and consciousness into the videotape, meaning he is finally able to reunite with Mary. But like many other endings, he's doomed to repeat the same history as before. And the scene ends with... Oh, wait a minute, hold on. So in the original Silent Hill 2, when James finds the truth, there's this iconic panning shot. A shot that was changed in the remake, except it's not missing, it's there in the Bliss ending. Not only that, but a lot of original areas from the original game you can find in the remake, and interacting with them gives off this weird chime. There's also certain weird letters scattered around, cryptically describing events that happened in the original Silent Hill 2. It seems like the remake is playing into something, that the original Silent Hill 2 also happened? What's going on here? And originally I had a whole segment about this, but you know what? We don't need that anymore because someone else found something. Because there are these photographs scattered throughout the game that don't really do anything, except there is a cryptic message that can be deciphered. And that message is this: you've been here for 2 decades. So wait, does this mean James is in a loop of some kind? If that's the case, then the Maria, Rebirth, and Bliss endings all seem to imply that. And if we are taking the original game into account, then we have to consider Born from a Wish, don't we? The side story about Maria, which, very long story short, implies that Maria is indeed a real person somehow. And if she's a real person, that means the town can and has resurrected her multiple times, which means the town can do the same for James, Eddie, and Angela. That means that even if James tries to kill himself, he'll just wake up in that bathroom again. This also means that Eddie's downward spiral will lead him to dying by James's hand again, and again, and again. And Angela, oh god, I don't want to think about that, but I have to. Angela already has to relive her trauma over and over again. But going by this whole loop theory thing, if Angela keeps burning herself on that staircase, she's going to wake up back in Silent Hill, forced to relive that trauma over and over again. That's really fucking sad and horrifying, but as we've established earlier, I don't think this town cares. Except there's one ending where this doesn't make sense. The Leave ending. Because you have to consider, what happens to Laura? I guess in the other endings, if things loop and reset, Laura also does the same, only the entire time she's just playing around in the town. And unlike the other characters, there's no personal guilt the town can punish her for. However, James still has to meet Laura. She's vital to the story. So if she's gone from Silent Hill, the loop theory can't really make sense, can it? It's the one thing that kind of breaks the theory, and maybe that's the point. Guilt is complicated. There's many different types and many different ways to deal with it. But at some point, whether you're prepared or not, you will have to confront it. It will be hard, it will be terrifying, and you will go to places you don't want to go to. And ultimately, it's up to you to decide your outcome on all of it. But out of all other options, the one that doesn't make sense, the one that breaks the loop, is where, whether you believe yourself worthy or not, you forgive yourself and leave.
Is this neighbor serious? I'm being so for real. This autistic fuck traveled all the way to Atlanta to find his mid-ass wife, only to get attacked by a group of fent addicts. Why couldn't he just stay home and masturbate or some shit for real? All the fentanyl-laced ops are chasing him, and he can't do shit about it, cause he's so goddamn hell-bent on the most mediocre pussy known to mankind. Even the bitches in this place are homeless, cause this dumbass is in Southside Atlanta. He even turns down the one single bad bitch in this place, cause this neighbor has the inability to get pussy. Xiao Hong Shu!
My heart. I loved her. Well.
I thought today couldn't get any worse. Then I saw James.
Look at that cat. Look at that.
It starts with sorry.
my dick in the shower. Beat 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 my dick in the shower. Beat